We typically, during the week, will go on a date night Thursdays. And so when Valentine's comes around, we like to include the kids. So we'll do a fancy dinner at home.
Something unimaginable has been uncovered beneath the dream home of Chip Gaines and Joanna Gaines, the beloved stars of Fixer Upper, and it's far worse than anyone could have imagined. What started as a simple maintenance call erupted into a full-blown emergency that shook Waco, Texas to its core. Within minutes, the once peaceful Magnolia farmhouse became a lockdown crime scene swarming with forensic experts, unmarked vehicles, and investigators who emerged from the basement pale and speechless. What they found down there has stunned authorities, terrified locals, and left the entire Magnolia empire in disbelief. This is what they never wanted the world to know. The chaos began early one morning when a foul, metallic odor drifted through the Gaines's property. A maintenance worker from Magnolia noticed the smell seeping from the basement vents. The odor was so strong it made him dizzy. Thinking it was a gas leak, he immediately called emergency services. But when firefighters arrived and tested the air, the results didn't match any natural gas or chemical they recognized. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. Within the hour, multiple unmarked vehicles descended upon the home. Investigators in protective suits entered the farmhouse while neighbors watched in confusion. And fear as the flashing lights lit up the Magnolia grounds. People realized this was no simple plumbing issue. The atmosphere grew tense. Basement windows were covered, floodlights were set up, and investigators refused to speak to the press. Then, something chilling happened. Two men wearing gloves rolled a large black tarp out of the basement. A strong metallic scent lingered as they passed. Reporters attempted to ask questions, but authorities gave only one short statement. A sensitive and unexpected discovery had been made beneath the home. That was enough for the internet to explode. Hashtags like #Magnolia Mystery and #Basement Discovery trended nationwide. Fans of Chip and Joanna Gaines, who had always been associated with warmth and positivity, were stunned. How could anything dark possibly exist beneath the iconic home of America's most wholesome renovation couple? Before long, investigators began piecing together the unsettling truth, a truth that led back long before the Magnolia brand ever existed. To understand the gravity of this discovery, you have to go back in time. Decades before Chip and Joanna Gaines bought their farmhouse, the land was known locally as Dead Man's Hollow. In the 1940s, a farmer vanished under mysterious circumstances. Locals reported seeing strange lights hovering above the fields and whispered about unmarked graves hidden in the woods. Children grew up hearing warnings about a dangerous root cellar that no one should ever approach. Over time, these stories faded into rural legend until the land was redeveloped in the early 2000s, eventually becoming the site of the Gaines's dream home. When renovations first began, contractors noticed odd structural issues beneath the property. The soil was unusually compact, almost as if it had been intentionally tamped down. Old stone walls were discovered beneath parts of the basement floor walls that didn't match any recorded blueprint of the home. One contractor later revealed that workers were instructed not to dig too deeply near the south wall of the basement because the ground felt different. On the original renovation blueprints, a small section under the staircase was labeled nitrogen monoxide entry. Nobody questioned it at the time, but that exact area would later become the epicenter of the horrifying odor. As the Magnolia team began spending more time in the farmhouse, strange incidents quietly unfolded. Tools disappeared overnight and reappeared in places covered in dust, despite the area being freshly cleaned. During filming for a new Magnolia project, a cameraman reported hearing footsteps coming from the basement while the entire crew was upstairs. Chip Gaines rushed downstairs with a flashlight, but found nothing except a cold, inexplicable draft. Joanna Gaines, in a later podcast interview, admitted she always felt uneasy in the basement. She described hearing slow, rhythmic knocking from behind the concrete, walls knocking that felt too deliberate to be dismissed as old house noises. An electrician working on the property once found a strange rectangular outline beneath a concrete panel on the basement floor, almost like a welded shut hatch. When he brought it up, Chip Gaines instructed him to avoid the area and reroute the wiring elsewhere. At the time, the electrician assumed it was an old septic line, but after the recent discovery, he came forward and said that was no septic line. Whatever was down there, nobody wanted it opened. Neighbors, too, had noticed odd things. Flickering lights glowed through the basement windows late at night when the family was asleep. Some assumed it was Chip working on renovation equipment. Others whispered about hauntings, but never confronted the couple. Then came the night before the discovery. Electrical logs confirmed that power to the farmhouse flickered multiple times between midnight and 3 a.m. A sudden voltage spike triggered the security system. When authorities reviewed the alarm footage, they noticed something chilling. The basement motion detector had been activated, yet no one had gone in or out. When investigators finally broke through the sealed concrete section, they discovered a narrow passage leading into a hidden underground chamber. The air was stale and thick. Dust clung to every inch of the room. Old wooden beams supported the low ceiling, suggesting the space had been hand-dug decades earlier. What they found inside looked like something out of a forgotten horror story. Dozens of wooden crates blackened with age sets stacked along the walls. Strange symbols were etched into their surfaces. One crate had begun to rot, revealing the metallic glint of something beneath layers of cloth. When the crate was opened, a nauseating metallic odor filled the chamber. Inside were rusted surgical tools, cloudy glass jars containing dark residues, and handwritten notes sealed with wax. Faded words like preserve, trial, and do not disturb were visible on the brittle pages. But the most horrifying object in the room was a metal chair bolted to the floor. Leather straps were still attached to the armrests. Next to it lay a heavy rusted chain anchored into the wall. This was no workshop. This was a place someone was restrained, perhaps studied. Biological samples collected from the floor tested positive for human blood. Investigators could not determine how old the samples were, but the stains were deeply embedded into the concrete. Within 24 hours, leaked photos from inside the chamber spread across social media. Among them was a faded medical tag stamped with a name that sent chills through Waco. Dr. Raymond Hensley. Locals remembered him as a physician who mysteriously disappeared in the 1970s. Former patients had whispered that he performed private treatments, not recorded in any medical files. When investigators searched county archives, they discovered the land once belonged to the Hensley estate. The original farmhouse had been demolished in the 1980s, leaving only the foundation, upon which Chip later rebuilt. Inside, a leather-bound journal recovered from the crates, experts found disturbing entries. Dr. Hensley wrote about preservation experiments, living chambers, isolation tests, and organic material storage. Nothing matched legal medical practices even for the 1970s. As investigators connected the dots, federal agencies were called in. DNA testing on samples from the chamber returned partial matches to unsolved missing persons cases from the 1970s. One match reportedly connected to a woman who vanished in Waco in 1974. The same year Dr. Hensley disappeared, the internet erupted with theories. Some believed Chip and Joanna had unknowingly built their dream home over a forgotten prohibition tunnel system. Others suspected Cold War experiments or abandoned government projects. A local legend resurfaced: Project Rebirth, a rumored human preservation experiment supposedly carried out in secret laboratories across Texas. No evidence had ever confirmed such a program existed until now, when the crates found beneath Magnolia bore markings identical to those in an old 1934 photograph from the city archives. As investigators continued digging, Chip Gaines remained on the property, cooperating fully but visibly shaken. Joanna Gaines temporarily left with their children. Magnolia Network halted all filming. The couple's friends described them as devastated, as if their entire world had been turned upside down. They had built their life, their home, their empire on top of something sinister, something that was never meant to be uncovered. Weeks later, federal officials declared the chamber over 50 years old and confirmed it had been used for illegal experimental research. All materials were removed for analysis. The property was deemed safe, but the emotional impact remained. Chip and Joanna Gaines released a heartbroken statement, saying, "Our home was built with love and hope. We never imagined it stood upon someone else's tragedy." Today, the once vibrant Magnolia farmhouse sits in an eerie quiet. Tourists who once flocked to see the famous home now drive past slowly, whispering. Even though the chamber is gone, the questions remain. Who were the victims? Why was the room sealed so perfectly? And what else might still lie buried beneath the Texas soil? Even Chip Gaines's final words still echo through the Magnolia's silence, a reminder that some truths were never meant to rise. A home built on love, a land built on secrets, and a discovery that forever changed everything. If this story gripped you, Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more chilling real-life mysteries. Thanks for watching.